Hello and welcome back to the podcast, That's Showbiz, with your host, Hannah Ranko. Happy Monday, everybody. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. I had a great weekend. I taught all weekend, including on Sunday, and I'm already feeling pretty burnt out, which is not good because I had a 2-week break from teaching and I'm already burnt out in the first week back. So this is your reminder to slow down. Even though you just had a 2-week break, still slow down. You don't have to fill up your schedule in the new year. Okay, just ease on into it. That's a reminder for myself as well, because I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed, but it's okay because that is showbiz. For this week's episode, as well as future episodes, I will be going over showbiz basics. For the next few weeks, I will be talking about basic information that every dancer or performer should know about. These episodes can serve as educational tools for yourself or your dancers because I'm not only going to be talking about the information, but I'm also going to provide a bunch of materials for you and your students in the show notes. I did do some research on these topics, so you can check out the articles I used in the show notes. Total transparency, my inspiration for this was the fact that I am currently working on my curriculum for my Endicott classes, and I teach a commercial dance course that I pretty much teach the same material, but I like to try to experiment with how I'm getting it across. And I am going to share some of these podcast episodes with my students as assignments because, as I'm sure some of you who teach at a college level know, it is really hard to fit in everything you want to fit in a semester. So I'm going to have them listen to this podcast, and also it's beneficial for me and the podcast, so it's a win-win. So if you are an Endicott student listening to this podcast for an assignment, good for you, A+, you got this. We are going to get into the first episode of this podcast, and that is Headshots 101. Let's dive right in and get into the material. I am structuring this episode with a series of questions that are related to headshots, and I will answer each question. The first question is a little bit silly, but it is a basic. What is a headshot? A headshot is a photo portrait that focuses on one person as the subject. And this term is typically applied to professional photos used for potential employers to see those applying, or in this case, auditioning. So, why is a headshot important? Well, a headshot is important because it is a first impression. I'm not gonna lie, this first impression does include what you look like. But more than that, it also is an impression of your energy or personality. A photo can tell a person a lot about you. And luckily, as artists, as people, we can strategically decide how we want to be portrayed in our photos. So we can make decisions that impact how our photos are being interpreted. And to be very clear, we are not worried about looking like supermodels, having no blemishes on the face, being perfect, because we're not going to show up to an audition looking like that. We want to have a realistic, nice photo of who we are. So when I say we should be strategic about how our headshots look, what I mean is how we present our look. An example of this could be if you're auditioning for Disney, you might want to use a headshot that's a little bit more simple, clean, professional looking, all-American type vibe. But if you're auditioning for more of a commercial gig, you can have a more edgy look, maybe a little bit more dramatic in the makeup, in the outfit choices. So you can strategically use headshots that align with the jobs that you are applying for. And you should do that. But that doesn't mean you should change your facial features and edit your photos so you look like a completely different person. In fact, that is a big, big no as far as headshots go, because the casting director, whoever is looking at your headshot, should be able to tell that it's you and be able to put your headshot to the person in the room. Okay, the next topic to discuss is headshot considerations. So these are things you should keep in mind when taking a headshot. The first thing you should think about is making sure you are about 3 to 5 feet away from the camera, making sure we are not too far away from the camera or too close. We should be framing our upper body and head and leaving some space around the head, but not too much. The next important thing is to think about looking into the lens because the eyes are most important about a headshot. If you're looking dead in the eyes, no one's going to be wanting to look at that headshot. So with that being said, I would also make sure your eyes are the focus of the headshot. Maybe you put on some flattering eyeshadow to really accentuate your eye color. Whatever it is, just make sure you're looking alive, looking happy, looking awesome in those eyes. Another thing to think about that I've actually previously said is to make sure you look like yourself in the headshot. That includes any type of hair coloring you've done. Make sure it's up to date in your headshot. Any type of piercings or tattoos that might be visible. Just make sure that you can see that in the headshot so no one is surprised when you walk into the room. My last thing to consider is what you wear. I tend to prefer solid colors that really accentuate my skin tone, my eyes, my hair color, all of that. So just keep that in mind. I know some people like to go more bold with their outfit choices and their accessories, but I like to keep it a little bit more simple. Whatever is really going to make the focus be your face, the better. Now it's time to talk about things to avoid in a headshot. And I have a little bit longer of a list here. The first one is any type of shadows on the face. Your face should be the focus, as I've said, so just make sure the lighting is on point. Also, avoid selfies. That should be self-explanatory, but I've seen it, and I should just tell you to just stay away from it. Just no selfies, please. Keep the selfies to Instagram. The next thing to avoid is too much distance in your headshot. It should really, again, like I've said, be focused on the face. However, I want to say sometimes casting will ask for full body pictures. So when you get your headshots taken, take some full body pictures, but those are separate things. Okay, let's be clear. A headshot is not a full body picture. So just keep that in mind because I've been asked that a lot in my career. The next thing to avoid is too high or too low of a camera angle because it will make your face look really weird. Also, distracting backgrounds. I prefer either blurred out background or just a solid studio colored background. That's what I prefer. Just, again, focus is the face. And finally, like I've said before, no distracting outfits. Although, if you are auditioning for certain things, you can go a little bit more bold, but the focus should be on the face. That is the motto for headshots. Focus on the face. Okay, the next conversation we are going to have is a hot take on my end, and that is whether you should get professional photos or more DIY photos done. All my life, I've been told professional photos. And I do see the value in professional photos. With a professional photo session, you get an artist, a photographer that knows how to light your face, that knows how to light your skin tone and all of that, hopefully if you're getting a good quality one. And they know how to angle you so you look good, and they can tell you chin up, chin down, tilt your head, whatever it may be, so that you have your features looking their best. And also, a professional photographer knows how to get the best quality photos and all of that. So all of that is very beneficial, and I see the value in that if you have the funds to do so, because it can get very pricey very fast. That is why whenever I am giving lessons about headshots, I always talk about the alternative, which is DIY headshots, or there are alternative ways to work with photographers to get headshots. I just think it is a really privileged take to tell students, young students, that they need these hundreds of dollars of headshots. Because when I was a college kid, I was told that, and that was not realistic for my situation, and I couldn't go ask my parents for that. So I had to figure out ways to navigate that as a young student. One way I navigated that was using the resources I had around me. So I had a lot of fellow dancers who knew what to look for in a headshot, but also could not afford the cost of professional headshots. So one of my friends had a really nice camera. We went to the campus center at my school, and it had really nice lighting and a nice white backdrop. And we all took headshots, and they came out pretty good considering they were free, and we all got to have these headshots and use them for professional gigs. And I've gotten hired a lot of times with those headshots. So it is not necessary to get these insanely high priced headshots, although, again, there is a lot of benefits to having that. But if you are a young artist, sometimes that's just not realistic, and you have to find other ways to get the headshot done. And if you are in a situation where you don't have a camera, you don't know anybody that has a camera, I'm just going to be real. It is 2024, technology is improving, and we have awesome cameras on our phone. And if you go to portrait mode and you have a nice natural lighting, you can take really, really nice headshots on your phone. In fact, I've done this before, and they've turned out pretty good, and I've actually used them a couple of times. I'm not even gonna lie. So don't be afraid to DIY it. And if anybody tries to shame you for that, say goodbye, good riddance, okay? Because yes, like I've said, professional photos are very, very, very important. If you have the means to get professional photos done, you definitely should. But that is not realistic for everyone, and I don't want this idea that you have to have a certain financial stability in order to have a career in the arts, because that is just not true. I've been in many lectures where I've been told that if you're not willing to spend all this money on headshots, then that's like not being willing to invest in your career. And again, I just think that's a privileged take. Not everybody has the financial stability to do that, and it doesn't mean we care about our careers less. It just means that we have other expenses and other responsibilities that some people do not have. So I always like to offer a range of options for people. My last tip for getting headshots is something called time for print. And I do this with a lot of photographers, amateur photographers that are really, really talented. Sometimes photographers who are just wanting to experiment and practice will offer something called time for print. So, in exchange for your time and willing to be an experiment for them, they are willing to give you photos for free. So if you wanted headshots, you could just say, hey, can we get some headshots? And I'm sure they would be more than willing to do that for you. I've gotten a lot of free photo shoots this way, and it's beneficial for everyone, in my opinion, because they're also getting photos that they can use for their portfolios as well. But I should be very clear, please do not reach out to all these photographers and say, hey, can you do photo shoots, without clarifying that you're looking for time for print, because that's just not cool and you're going to take advantage of photographers' time. So just be aware that not every photographer is willing to offer time for print because they are a business. With that being said, when you are looking to get professional headshots done, make sure you do your research about what photographer you want to use, because every photographer has a different style and you want to make sure their style matches your vision for what you want your headshots to be. So look at their Instagrams, their websites, look at other dancers and see who they're using as a photographer, and make sure you pick your photographer wisely so you're spending your money wisely. So, the next question is, what should you do in preparation for your headshot session? The first thing you should do is make sure you find some inspo photos. Before every photo shoot, I like to make a board on Pinterest of the look I'm trying to go for, because you should make sure you have an idea of what you want to look like in your photos. And also, it will help the photographer if they need any guidance for what you're looking for. Also, you should make sure you plan your looks ahead of time. And I have to say, every time I've gone into a photo shoot, I've brought a suitcase with me. I feel like I have plenty of outfits, plenty of looks, and then I get to the photo shoot and I'm like, darn, I wish I brought more outfits. So I feel like the more the better. You can always not use an outfit, but you can't add on any more if you don't have any more outfits planned, right? So always just over plan rather than under plan, I'd say. And then finally, I just recommend test running your makeup and hair and just making sure it's going to look really great for the camera. And also just making sure that whatever you do choose is something that you would be able to replicate at an audition. Okay, we are approaching our last question of the day, and that is, how do we use a headshot? When you are going into an audition, you're going to want to bring multiple printed copies of your headshots to an audition. And if you have different styles of headshots, I would bring backup copies too, just because it's better to overplan than underplan, as I've previously said. You want to make sure you print your headshots 8x10 and do not print your headshots on printer paper. This is a very common mistake that my students make when we do mock auditions, so this is very much directed to them. Please do not do your headshot assignment on printed paper. I know it's a hassle, but you should put it on photo paper, and there are great websites, including something called Dirt Cheap Headshots or something like that, where you can print headshots and they look great. Be warned that when you go to something like CVS or Walgreens to print, the glossy finish can kind of look really unprofessional. It can make your skin tone look weird. So personally, I would invest in getting headshots printed on a website that specializes in that. I will list a few websites that can print headshots in the show notes, so please go check that out. In addition to just having better quality print, you can also put your name at the bottom of your headshots, and that's something a lot of people will do just to be able to allow casting directors, whoever's looking at your headshots, to be able to quickly look at your name instead of having to flip it over and look on the backside for your name. Which leads me to the next important part about a headshot. When you go into an audition, you're going to also want to print your resume and staple it to the back of your headshot. And in my opinion, this can just be on printer paper because you're putting it on the photo paper of the headshot. You're going to staple it on all four corners, and this is very, very important. It might not seem like it, but you have to staple, and you have to do it on all four corners, because casting directors are going to be flipping a lot of people's resumes over. And if you use a paper clip or you tape it or some other weird method, that was my dog. He just drank out of the toilet. Anyways, if you use any weird method to attach your headshot to your resume, a lot of bad things can happen, and people don't have time for that. They're going to just be like, oh, this shit resume can't even be properly attached to a headshot. Goodbye. Just leave. So just make sure it is properly secured together. Also, pro tip, I bring a stapler to all of my auditions, a little mini one. They're not that expensive. Not only will this allow me to staple anything that I need to staple, but you might be able to make a friend who also needs your stapler. So just pack it in your audition bag. It's better to be over-prepared than under-prepared. Okay, my dog is coughing up a storm, and also, I'm done with everything I need to talk about. So it is time to wrap up this episode. Please make sure you follow the podcast Instagram at ShowbizBabyPod, and also feel free to follow my personal Instagram at Hannah Ranko. If you have any questions or concerns about this week's episode, or you're interested in being interviewed for a future episode, please email me at showbizbaby@gmail.com. Biz with a Z for the Gmail and also the Instagram. please share this podcast. Let's get it out there. Let's build a community and have a great rest of your Monday. Happy dancing. Have a great week. Goodbye, everybody. Woohoo! Yeah! That's showbiz. Woohoo! Yeah!